Okay, sorry for the little jump there. Right, the first thing we're going to do is create a rectangle in the top viewport, and that's going to represent the extents of the displacement map that we're going to render. Let's first center that to the scene. We can right click on these transform spinners down here, and we want to get this fitting inside the compound terrain object we've just made. Let's choose a round number, 90. Hopefully that fits in. It doesn't quite fit in at the bottom here. Just put an edit mesh on the terrain. I think if we move these, so we just fit the bottom in there in that corner, and just have a look. I think we can move those without changing the topology, the height. That's fine. Let's hide that. Right. Right, so we'll create a camera, and we're going to create that in the same place as that rectangle as well. So we'll choose a free camera, put that in the scene. Again, we'll just right click these transform spinners to center it, and we'll choose orthographic projection, and you can see here by changing the target distance of the camera we can determine what is in the rendered frame window, basically the map that we're going to render. So it's going to be about there, and you can see why we kept that red background a minute ago. Let's look at this through that camera, and we'll look at it with the safe frames on. So there's that rectangle that, again, remember, that's going to be the extents, that's the border, it's the guide to tell us that everything has to fit inside of that. Choose a colour that we can see a bit better. I'm just going to put a face extrude on there, and if I hit render we should just see the red border of the background peeking through. So the trick now is to adjust the focal distance of the camera, the target distance of the camera, so that we can't see any more of that red border. So it's pretty close. Let's try 109. I can still see a bit there. We'll go to looking at the top left corner there. Try 108. Okay, so that's gone. We'll go back to 109, and we'll work our way down. So 108.8, 0.9. Sorry. Okay, 0.8. A little bit dull, but it's not going to take long with the scanline renderer. Nearly there. Perfect. So the camera, the camera is set up correctly, so we could freeze that really, so we don't mess it up. And we can take this face extrude off, and we want to render the purple, the terrain compound object. We'll unhide it. Unhide by name, terrain 001, and we want to apply a gradient from black to white to this object. So black at the bottom, which would be -1.5, and white at the top, which will be 6. So we'll go to the material editor. I've got I've got one set up here. We'll do one again. Fresh, standard, self-illuminated to 100%, and let's just apply this. And we're going to choose a gradient. I'm going to choose a gradient ramp actually, and I want to show that in the viewport. Now it's using the real world scale, which we want to turn off, and we'll of course need to put a UV map on the object here, which will default to a real world scale. I'm using Max Design, it just does that, which is fine, but not what we want today. So looking at it through the camera, we're getting a gradient from the left to the right, and we want it to be from the top to the bottom really. So let's just change the mapping. It will be X, fit it, so it will be black at the bottom. It's showing grey there, but it'll render black and white at the top. So looking at it from the camera, in fact rendering that view, so white at the top, black at the bottom. So we'll save that in the project folder, and we'll call that Displacement 01. .tga I've put, so I'm saving it as a targa. And we can test that quite quickly. I tried to move the view there. Good job I locked the camera. That's why I locked the camera. So I'll come out of there and I'll choose a perspective viewport and just hide that, and I'll snap a plane object which is 90 by 90 meters. Give it a name. I'll give it a decent colour, and we'll give it an edge, a segment every meter, and we'll use a displace modifier. Now remember, our terrain starts at minus 1.5 meters, and it goes up to 6.5 meters, which is a total of 8 meters here. And I'm going to click on map and choose bitmap. Go to the project folder and choose the map we literally just rendered, Displacement 01. There we go. That looks pretty good to me. Let's bump this up so we've got a segment every half meter. And again, I'm going to XREF in the original contour lines, which are these two layers here, so that you can see how accurate it is. Let's go to realistic. So the same as the terrain object, it's accurate, it's very accurate. It's a little slow with those lines in, let's just get rid of them. Now you can see that it's doing exactly what it should be doing. But this does have a number of big advantages over the terrain mesh that we made earlier. and I'll show you some of those. So now would be a good time to save it in the project folder. I've saved it as displacement scene. This isn't the scene we're going to render from. This is a scene we're going to jump back every time we need to adjust the terrain. I believe in 2012 they have new scene states, so you could save it in there and swap through the scene states. I'd get confused, so I'd prefer to keep it. I think I'd prefer to keep it in a separate file, so I know what I'm dealing with.